Canada, sung for us today by Mrs. Aga Khan.
Oh, Canada, our home and chosen land, true patriot love, in all thy sons command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, thou true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free.
Distinguished head table guests, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon and welcome to today's luncheon, which has been organized by the Canadian Ismaili community in honor of the Lieutenant Governor of British Columbia, the Honourable Henry Bell-Irving and Mrs. Bell-Irving, and for His Highness the Aga Khan and Her Highness the Begum Aga Khan. My name is Bashir Jafar, and it is my privilege to be your MC today and to take over where Farouk left off this morning, and that's quite an act to follow. I would like to introduce to you our head table guests. Representing the federal government of Canada first, I would like to introduce the leader of the government in the Senate, the Honourable Senator Ray Perot, and his wife, Barbara Perot. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm delighted to introduce to you the Deputy Premier of our province, the Honourable Grace McCarthy, and her husband, Mr. Ray McCarthy. Ladies and gentlemen, I would just like to add here that I was talking to Ray McCarthy prior to the luncheon, and he mentioned to me that while it is usually true that behind every successful man there's always a woman, the reverse is always true.
On behalf of the councils and institutions and the Canadian Ismaili community, I am deeply honored to have the privilege to welcome you to this luncheon today. We are indeed grateful to our guests of honor, the representatives of the federal, provincial, and municipal governments, members of the diplomatic corps, and all the other guests for gracing this occasion with their presence. Today, A milestone was reached in our community settlement when this morning the foundation ceremony for the first Ismaili Jamaat Khana was performed by the Lieutenant Governor in presence of His Highness. This event is the main reason of this visit to Vancouver by their Highnesses. However, by a very happy coincidence, beginning from July 11, 1982, the community is celebrating the Silver Jubilee of His Highness's accession to the Imamat, that is the spiritual leadership of the world Ismaili community. And on behalf of all of us here, I wish to express to His Highness our warmest and heartiest congratulations on this very special occasion. During the Silver Jubilee year, which will continue until July 11, 1983, His Highness will visit many countries where Ismailis reside, and inshallah will also visit all the major centers of Ismaili settlement in Canada in 1983. The early Ismailis arrived in Canada in the 60s. The slow growth in the Ismaili population continued until the early 70s, when the political turmoil in East Africa, particularly in Uganda, led to the arrival of many more Ismailis to Canada. Many of us came here at that time after being expelled from Uganda. We will always be grateful to the people of British Columbia and Canada for their warmth and kindness, as well as their moral support, which has enabled members of our community to settle here with honor, dignity, and self-respect. Ismailis are proud Canadians. We are very fortunate to belong to such a wonderful country, which has always welcomed peoples of different nationalities and ethnic origins from all over the world and encouraged them to maintain their respective cultural heritage. In a world full of international tensions, this policy is unique and is explained by a belief that unity can be found in diversity. This multicultural diversity of people from many lands has created a distinctive Canadian mosaic, as was mentioned by His Honor the Lieutenant Governor this morning. Indeed, the Canadian mosaic offers innumerable facets of mosaics within mosaics and definitely makes it more versatile than Rubik's Cube. I may add, fortunately, it cannot be patented. Canadian Ismailis, like other community groups, are an integral part of this mosaic. Indeed, as Canadians, we have learned to understand and live within the wider Canadian mosaic of all cultures through our active participation in civic matters, sports, and various fields of social welfare. Looking to the future, I feel confident that we will continue to increase our contribution and participation in all spheres of public life through our very strong commitment to good and responsible citizenship. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you all very much and wish you a very pleasant and enjoyable afternoon. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, the mayor of our beautiful city, His Worship Mayor Mike Harcourt.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. His Excellency, the Aga Khan, Her Highness, the Begum, Your Honor, Mrs. Bell-Irving, Senator Parole, and Mrs. Parole, Madam Deputy Premier, and Ray Parole, Ray McCarthy, and may your voice come back, Ray. It's unusual. Fellow guests, and ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to welcome His Highness and Her Highness and all of you to a typical Vancouver day. If we do get a little bit of that liquid sunshine, I just blame it on Jack Lokes, the mayor of the mountains over there on North Vancouver. But I may say, ladies and gentlemen, that it is indeed pleasant to have the weather and the good feelings of today on the opening, the cornerstone, laying of the cornerstone, on the first permanent Jamatkana in our country. And you know, I read over the material, Your Highness, of the activities of the 25th Jubilee. And I'm really very proud of the choices of the projects that the Ismaili community have going in the world. Our brothers and sisters in the third world countries, particularly in Africa and in Asia. And I think that it's outstanding that you have targeted your activities to those areas of greatest need. And I may say that on behalf of the Vancouver Council and the other councils that are represented here, we would like to say simply welcome, congratulations for those projects, for the splendid day today, for choosing Bruno Freschi. I think that was a marvelous idea, and Bruno has immersed himself for 2.5 years in this project, and he's going to be, Your Highness, he's going to be immersing himself in an Expo 86, where we'll be celebrating our 4th Silver Jubilee, our 100th birthday in 1986. We hope you come back before then. And as I told you over lunch, for you and Her Highness, we already have your ski passes arranged at Whistler Mountain. So please return. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Chairman Bashir. Your Highnesses, Your Honor, and Mrs. Bell-Irving, Senator Ray Perot and Barbara Perot, Your Worship, Mayor Michael Harcourt, Mr. President's honored head table guests all, distinguished and honored guests all, what a pleasure it is to be here today with you to pay tribute to their Highnesses, to this remarkable occasion, this celebration of a Silver Jubilee, of a life of service and dedication to the Ismaili community, not only here, but throughout the world. Your Highnesses, we bring to you the very special and personal best wishes of our Premier, Bill Bennett, and all members of the Executive Council, and all the good wishes of the people of British Columbia. Your people have joined with us over these past few years, this past decade. Members of the community have come to our province of British Columbia, our great nation of Canada, and there has been many words said by members of the community today, earlier at the service, and again today at the luncheon, when President Nerdy and President Zul's remarks and His Highness's remarks earlier today, in appreciation to our Canadian people. But may I say in appreciation from our British Columbia people, whom I represent today, how much we have appreciated the contribution of those of you who have come to join with us and to make our place better, more productive. Certainly your contribution, your example, has been one that we would want all Canadians to emulate. and to have chosen for the 25th celebration of His Highness's place of responsibility as spiritual leader of so many millions of people. To think that we have in this province of British Columbia yet another first, and that is the very beautiful mosque which will be built in our adjacent Burnaby, and how proud Burnaby must be to have that. And I know that Mayor Lewarne was so proud today when he was able to see the plaque presented and unveiled by His Highness and our Lieutenant Governor today. I would like to just say that I think if we were going to pay tribute to all of the good works that are done in very many ways and in very many places throughout the world by the Ismaili community, we would be hard put to name all of the good works or all of the lives that they have changed by the good works that they have done. But I think that we can be especially proud that that part of their total commitment in life is being so well recognized today by the presentation and the presence of their Highnesses while the plaque was unveiled today in Burnaby, the start of a place of worship, a place of commitment, a place of spiritual commitment and serenity, where it will no doubt be a place where all who go to worship will be renewed in their faith and will continue those good works. I can't think of a better way to celebrate a 25th anniversary, this beautiful Jubilee. Today, on behalf of our province, I would like to present to their Highnesses a tiny memento of our very good wishes, our happiness at your presence among us. Please return again and again. Our people will be so pleased to have you back.
Federal Government of Canada, the Leader of the Government in the Senate, the Honourable Senator Ray Perot.
Mr. Chairman, Your Honor, and Mrs. Bell-Irving, Your Highnesses, Mrs. McCarthy, Your Worship, Mike Harcourt, isn't this a marvelous day, and hasn't it been a wonderful day? A day in which we have gathered together of people of all ethnic backgrounds and all religious faiths to honor His Highness on this occasion, to take our stand and witness the cornerstone ceremony for this magnificent new house of prayer, which emphasizes again the incredible cultural dimension of our community. Your Highness, I want to say at the outset that I was in touch with the Prime Minister yesterday, and he asked me to convey to you his regret that he wasn't able to be present for today's ceremony. Looking forward to your 25th silver anniversary tour of Canada in a few months. There are one or two economic problems that he's grappling with in Ottawa. And there were some special meetings, some consultations. He wanted me to convey to you, Your Highness, the fact that he greatly values his warm personal relationship with you and is proud to call you a friend. Not only a personal friend, but a friend of Canada. Some of us in this audience recall those days when the first Ismaili refugees came in from Africa. Some people perhaps were a little apprehensive. They said, who are they? And these people who worship the Almighty in a different way, what's their background? It was even a controversial issue in some circles, as you'll recall. I can't think of a community which in such a short period of time has demonstrated the qualities of good Canadian citizenship than has the Ismaili community, Your Highness, and we're very proud that they selected Canada. A few months ago, when we heard those terrible stories of suffering in Southeast Asia, the refugees streaming away from Vietnam and settling in some of the Southeast Asiatic countries, I was invited to an event sponsored by your community, Your Highness. And what was the event all about? The event was designed to raise money to send to Southeast Asia to help those refugees. Tons of food were collected and clothing. And I talked to a member of your community and I said, this is extraordinary. The answer I received was, we remember when we needed help, and we remember that Canada helped us at that time, and we have a responsibility now to help those people in need. That's the spirit of Canada. Your Highness, we have a microcosm of Canada here today, as I mentioned earlier. Many of our ancestors came here today because of religious persecution and political persecution. They came from countries which held them in a certain social stratum and prevented them from realizing their full potential or discriminated against them because of some religious belief. And so we're all really members of that same family. Your people came for some of the same reasons as some of our ancestors came, but just a little later. But we're all Canadians now. I have a message that I would like to read on behalf of the Honourable Jim Fleming, who was invited to be here. And it says, Dear Mr. Virgie, I was very pleased to receive your kind invitation to attend the foundation ceremony of the first Ismaili Jamaat-Khana in Canada. I'm disappointed that a prior commitment prevents my wife and me from joining you and your distinguished guests on this important occasion. As Minister of State for Multiculturalism, I want on behalf of the Government of Canada to take this opportunity to welcome His Highness Prince Karim Aga Khan and Her Highness the Begum Aga Khan to Canada. I also want to let you, your community, and their Highnesses know that I feel that this serious undertaking reflects not only your deep spiritual values, but also the source of the great and positive contributions made by members of the Ismaili communities throughout this country to the development of a truly harmonious Canadian multicultural society. Again, I'm very sorry that my wife and I cannot be with you at the opening of your Jamaat-Khana. May the serenity of your lives continue to be reflected in the philosophies of Canadians of all ethnic backgrounds. Mr. Chairman, thank you very much for inviting Barbara and me to this event today.
Your Honor, the Honourable Senator Perot, the Honourable Mrs. Grace McCarthy, Deputy Premier of British Columbia, His Worship the Mayor of Vancouver, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. One of the advantages of coming at the end of a long list of speakers is that everybody wants you to stop speaking. One of the disadvantages is that just about everything you would wish to say has been said, but it is my genuine privilege to be able to express to all the honored guests today, to all the authorities, all the citizens of Vancouver who are here, the very deep gratitude of the members of my community, of my wife and myself, for the kindness, the courtesy, the warmth that you have extended to us since the first Ismailis came to Canada on the occasion of the foundation ceremony of the first Jamaat-Khana in Canada. I would like to underline that Canada's concern for man, for the honor of man, does not stop at her frontiers. And this is a sign, to me, of world greatness. Not to look inwards, not to be hypnotized by one's own small issues, although I recognize that there may be very serious ones, but to have the generosity of heart to look further afield. And members of the Ismaili community, institutions which are connected with the Imamat, have benefited in recent years from Canada's generosity, from her wisdom, from her understanding of her own international role. And I would like to mention here the Canadian International Development Agency. I would like to mention McGill University. I would like to mention McMaster University. Institutions which are participating with me in health programs in the Third World, in educational programs in the Third World, and really participating in the most creative manner which I can think of, that is helping man help himself. Too often, the spirit of initiative is destroyed by political instability, by lack of credibility, by people in their governments in the Third World. And this private initiative, which after all is something which I think Canada represents in its best form, is something which must be encouraged in the Third World, because if the individual doesn't contribute to society, it is not the government which can replace that. And I think this is one of the great lessons of Canada. I do not want to go into detail about what CIDA, McGill, McMaster, and other institutions in Canada have done, are doing, and hopefully will continue to do in the support of the improvement of the quality of life in the Third World. But I do want to tell you, without giving you the details, that I think it is a matter of which every Canadian can be deeply proud. And in that sense, I can simply say thank you and express to you all my gratitude and all my respect. Thank you.
Distinguished guests, I requested the Lieutenant Governor to say a few words, and he has kindly consented to do so.
Your Highness Aga Khan, Your Highness the Begum Salimah, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we in Canada are a monarchy. We pay allegiance to a queen of a long, long line of succession as our head of state. Those of us who have studied and taken interest in our system are very proud of it. We believe that it works very well. And today, we are very privileged to be in the company of another world leader with an age-old succession, and in a community here within a community representing the whole world, the large parts of the world, from which we in Canada can learn a good few lessons. I think that there's a great deal of difference between the head of the Commonwealth, which we used to call the British Commonwealth, the Queen of Canada, and the very widespread influence and responsibility and good works now under the sole responsibility of His Highness the Aga Khan. I take pride in the fact that we have these two great world communities represented in this room today. I think we should remember the significance of it. And as our distinguished senator said, and others a few minutes ago, come back, will you know, come back again, as often as possible. Thank you very much. If I may, with this machine, say to you, Your Highness, goodbye, Godspeed, come back.
Thank you all very much, and good afternoon.